Welcome to this video. What I'm going to do now is just give a little bit of an idea about Biblegateway and what it's useful for, and one or two things about how to use it. This is something of a stopgap video. At some point I will look to find a way of sharing my screen and showing how I've used it in that way. But I have to say that the best way to use it, if you're not very confident with a computer, maybe finding someone who is also doing deeper and can help you with this would be a particularly good way to do it. If you are reasonably confident, probably just a few things that I can say will get you going, and then you can explore yourself, and that's usually the way to find out more about the online tools that you might want to use. So that said, there are many programs that are quite useful for engaging with the Bible online, and I'm using Biblegateway as a particular one that I've used over a number of years myself. It's free, it's easily accessible, it's quite straightforward to use, and I think gives us some basic things that we can do that will help with studying, looking up verses, seeing them in different translations, following a theme, and so on. So there are other websites and all sorts of things available. One I would mention, which I've used from time to time, is Bible Hub. That tends to be more of a scholarly site, and you can look into the original languages and all sorts of things on there, and that's quite helpful if you want to go into that kind of depth. But for most of us, something like Biblegateway will be fine, or many of us have apps on our phones which allow us to do some of the things that Biblegateway does as well. I have an app, a Takata app, which has my that's the thing I use every day for looking at my NIV Bible, and that cost me a few pounds to have the NIV version of the download, but well worth it because I use it often. With Biblegateway, basically the translations are free if you're using them online, and you can see as many translations pretty well as almost as many as there are in English, and a whole load of foreign languages if you really wanted to. There are options to subscribe to Biblegateway in a way where you pay for it. You don't really need to do that, but if you do, you have access to lots and lots of commentaries and all sorts of resources that have their uses. So you don't need to feel the urge to subscribe, but if you did want to, that's one of a number of good sites to subscribe to. So anyway, Biblegateway, the way you get there is on your normal, whatever you use to look websites up, your normal browser. I, as it turns out, use Chrome, and I just type in a search for Biblegateway, and whether you're going to do that with a Google search or DuckDuckGo or whatever other search engines you've heard of or use, then feel free to do that. Biblegateway, then it'll search for it and find it, and the actual website you go to is biblegateway.org. So you might want to pause this video if you are actually going to be using Biblegateway and just type that in, try and get your Windows sorted out so that you can see and have access to this, or at least hear this video and have access to that, and then type in biblegateway.org or search for it, and then get there, and then when you've got there, having paused the video, come back and we'll go to the next thing to look at. So I'm assuming that you've got there and you probably have something encouraging you to upgrade to Biblegateway Plus, so definitely don't do that at the moment. And underneath that, you've probably got something which says enter passage, keyword, or topic. It's a search box, and then you've probably got something on the right of that telling you what Bible version you have got as the one that's come up by default. I'm typically personally using New International Version UK, and that's NIV UK. And if you use the down arrow on whatever version you've got, you'll see all sorts of options, and you could go to NIV UK just so that we're on the same version for the purposes of this. Other versions that are useful, there are many and varied, and I could talk a little bit about the different translations, but I'm not going to do that at the moment. Just to say that another popular one that lots of people use is the New Living Translation, which is more of a paraphrase. The NIV is a little bit more word for word, although there are others that are more sticking word to word in translating the original language, which is usually either Hebrew for the Old Testament and Greek for the New, translating that into English. So you've got Bible Gateway, hopefully you've located the search box, and if you wanted to search for a particular passage in the Bible, for example, on the first week we're going to look at Mark, the Gospel of Mark, chapter 12 and verse 30. And what you could do, you don't have to write Gospel of Mark in full. You could just write, pretty well you can write whatever makes it clear that that's the thing you're searching for. So in this case, I would suggest that you type in Mark and then space and then the number 12 and then colon and then the number 30. And if you type return there or enter, you'll get to that particular verse, Mark chapter 12. You don't have to write the chapter number. In fact, best not to write chapter number, just write Mark 12 colon 30 and you get to the verse. You could do that, you could try that, or if you wanted to get just to the chapter and see the whole chapter there, you could just type in Mark 12 and then hit enter. So that's actually what I'm going to do now. And so I've written Mark 12 and then I get the NIV text of Mark 12 a bit further down the page, and it's got the heading that they've put in there, the parable of the tenants, and that starts off with a 12 in big number, and then goes straight on with verse 1. It doesn't bother putting the verse number for 1, and then just goes, Jesus then began to speak to them in parables. And you can scroll down the page to get to 30 if you want to. Just a little bit of, you might have to get the mouse in a particular place to scroll down. I'm making this fairly simple so that those who are not so familiar can follow me. Sorry if that seems a bit oversimple to some others of you. You get to verse 30 and you can see the little number 30. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. You might notice there are a couple of footnotes, small letters there that you can click on to get the footnote up if you wanted to. And you can see, you can use Bible Gateway in the simplest form just to pull up the words, to pull up the texts, and you can see them in the context of the chapter that it's in. And hopefully you'll be able to see there'll be a little right arrow on the right hand side of the text and a little left arrow on the left hand side. That will take you to the next chapter or the previous chapter, depending on which way you go. And if you click on the next chapter, for example, you get Mark 13. So that's just a very simple way to move around. If you were to go back up to the top of your screen, you could go to the box again and you could type a completely different verse or chapter and look at it, and that would be fine. Or you could, this is a useful thing that Bible Gateway helps us with a little bit more easily than a typical paper Bible or a Bible as a book. Sometimes you know the words that you want to find, but you just can't remember where they are. So if you knew a word that you wanted to look up or a phrase that you wanted to look up, you could look at it in Bible Gateway. And you basically go to that same box where it says enter passage, keyword or topic. And if you wanted to look at, let's say you wanted to look at every time the word, and I'll pick a well-used word up, Heart. Maybe you wanted to look every time the word heart is used in the Bible, so you type it in, heart, return, and then you will get. Now this will work whether you do it on a phone or a laptop, but if you do it on a phone, you'll see it slightly differently to the way I see it on the laptop, and you'll just need to look around a little bit for where you see the things I'm talking about, or they might be spoken about in slightly different, or come up in slightly different ways. Somewhere though you should get the fact that there are over 700 version or 700 uses of this word heart in the Bible, and on the screen in the laptop it says all 733, and there are 584 versions of this in the Old Testament, and then you see a list of the books of the Bible where this is used, and in brackets you see how many times it's used in each book. If you scroll down you see New Testament, and you see Mark. Mark, it's used 11 times, and you could click on Mark, and then you will get the places that it's used in Mark. Now also on your screen, as well as that list of Bible verses or the Bible books that it's used in, you may have had in the main part of your screen, you may have had a particular version that Bible Gateway has chosen to show you for heart as a representative one or an interesting one to start looking at. Or it may have shown you a whole series of where heart is used. It might have started in Genesis and give you the first uses of the word heart in the Bible. And one of the studies that we'll do looks at the way that this particular word is used. So you can explore different words in that way, but if you, and I'll let you do that at your leisure, and you could pause this video if you wanted to just have a look around now and doing that, or you could carry on, and I could just say that if you're rejoining us again, we're just going to look at how you can look at a phrase. So maybe you'd want to look up a phrase with all your heart, and you can just type that in. But if you want the exact phrase, you need to put it in quotes. So you go quote, open quote, and then you type in with all your heart, and then you close the quote. I think it can be single or double. I've used double quotes. With all your heart, end quote, and then press return. And I've misspelt it, so I don't get anywhere. You might want to check that yourself sometimes, but if you spell it correctly, you do get a smaller number of places it's used. It's actually used 24 times, so still quite significant. You see the first usage is in the book of Deuteronomy, and you can see it also includes the use in Mark. So you could explore that, or you can explore any phrase that comes to mind and look for it. Sometimes you will find that you remember a phrase from the Bible in a particular version, and you're looking it up in a different one, and you're thinking, why is that not showing me in Bible Gateway? It must be something wrong. Usually the case is you've got a different version, or you've remembered it slightly incorrectly. But do explore that and use that as a way of using Bible Gateway. So now you know how to look up a particular passage, a particular verse, you know how to look up words, and you know how to look up a series of words. Or sometimes you might want to look up a verse that contains several words. Sometimes I don't quite know the exact details of a verse I think I sort of know, but want to find in the Bible, and I just type in those words without the quotes and see. It doesn't really matter what the order is, it'll just find a verse with all of those. So if I was to look up all and heart, it would show me verses that contain the word all and heart. So have an explore with Bible Gateway. There are all sorts of other things you can do, but I think that's enough to get you started. Enjoy using the tools, and may the tools help you to explore the Bible more, and may exploring the Bible more help you to get to know God better.